In this video, we'll talk about how to create new columns or how to replace an existing column with modified data. Alright, I'm going to run some R commands to demonstrate how mutate works. I'm going to create a data frame and then work on that data frame. So I'll have these vectors from which I'll create the data frame. The first vector is called first. It's the first name of a person. And then I have a vector called last, which is the last name. So here you can see I have 4 students, their first name, last name, and then I'll have their math scores. That's a vector math, and their English scores, and that is the vector English. And then I'm going to combine these into a data frame. So let's call it scores equals data.frame first, last, math, and English. You can create your own using any random numbers and names. When you create the data frame scores, it looks like this. Each of these vector becomes a column. So they go from horizontal to vertical and all get stacked together, and the data frame looks like this: first, last, math, and English. To create new columns, you use the command mutate, and here is how you do this. You do scores and then person getter person. I'm going to create a new column which has the total score. So mutate total equals math plus English. And if you print that, you get first, last, math, English, and total. And you can see that this data frame has 5 columns, but it's not scores. If you type scores, it's still the same data frame that you started with. The output of this command is a new data frame. It's being shown on the screen, but the original scores is not modified. Now, to save this, what you can do is you can call it, let's say, scores 2 equals this. Then the results will be stored in scores 2. All right, and so scores 2 has these 5 columns. Now you can also clean up the math and English columns. So you can remove those columns and just keep first, last, and total. To do that, you have to use the command that you learned before is select, and do select math, select minus math minus English. And now your scores 2 looks like this: first name, last name, and total. So that is the mutate for numbers. You can similarly do mutate where you work with the existing columns with the strings or characters. So let's do something where I'll combine the first and last name into the full name. To do that, you do scores 2 person getter percent mutate. It's another mutate. Full equals. Now I need to combine the first name and last name, and also I want to have some space in between. The command for combining strings is paste 0, and you do first and then space and then last. The command paste 0 combines multiple strings. So it takes first, then puts some space and combines the last. All right. Now, if you do that, you get a new column because I did mutate. So first, last, total, and then you have this full name. And once again, you can do the same trick as before. Now that you have the full name, you can remove the first name and last name, minus first and minus last. You can either remove by doing minus first, minus last, or you can select the columns total and full. So you can also do alternatively like this. total, and full, and you should get the same answer. All right, so that's all I have to show on muted. I'll see you in the next video. The other thing with muted that I like to show you is how to replace the data in a column. And I'll start with the data frame that you used before. So I have these first name, last name, math, English, and scores. And if you look at scores, you have first, last, math, and English. Now, let's say you have some requirement where you need to multiply the math and English scores by 2. So the command is very simple. So you do scores, percent greater percent, mutate, and then you do math equals 2 times math, and then English equals 2 times English. Okay, so when you do that, the new data frame will be first, last, and then math column will have 2 times the math column, and English column will have 2 times the English column. The original scores is unchanged as you had before, and this result is being printed on the screen. And to save it in a data frame, you have to give it a name. You can do scores updated equals scores times muted. If you do scores equals and then this command, you will lose your original data frame and scores will be updated with this new math and English scores. All right, if you check scores updated, here I gave you a new name to the data frame and it will have the updated data.